What is going on, everyone? Xavier here, and today I'm back with yet another Make Academy lesson for you guys. If you're just joining us, I'm documenting my journey from complete beginner to running my own AI automation agency. I'm following a 3-phase plan to get me there, but it all starts with mastering workflow automation. That's why we're speeding through these lessons. We're right in the middle of the basics section where we just finished learning about text functions. Today, I'm going to be covering Unit 3 of the Transforming Data Using Functions course. We're getting into formatDate functions. I know I said I was going to be going over Unit 2 and 3 in the last video, but the last unit turned out to be a little bit longer than I expected, and I'm pretty sure this next one is going to be long too, so we're probably just going to end it after this first unit, which is Unit 3, and hopefully we don't run into any problems like we did last week. But anyways, if you want the full breakdown of my business plan, I'll put that video up there as well as in the description below. But without further ado, I got my academy set up, I got my scenario open, and I got my coffee ready. So let's get into this lesson. Okay. So Unit 3, Transforming Data with formatDate. So we got our unit introduction. Welcome to the third unit of Transforming Data Using Functions and Make Basics. By now, you should have built your first scenario utilizing the text functions. You will now build on this by exploring what you can achieve with date functions. By the end of this unit, you will know how to use the date function to change the format of a string to a readable date, how different services represent date format, and how to convert date time to different time zones. Before you continue, make sure you've completed the exercise and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I'm just here on the scenario tab. I'm gonna click next. Why format the date/time? By default, within Make, many of the modules will provide the date in a raw format, which may not be useful for your needs. Let's have a look at an example of the date you have been receiving so far in your scenarios, and look at each component. Let's see, we have the year, month, day, hour, date time separator, minute, second, and millisecond. And then we also have time zone designator. Within your scenario, you may want to omit some information or update it based on your location. For example, the format month, day, year is used in the US, day, month, year is used in Europe, and year, month, day is used in Japan. Additionally, you can define how the separators of each component are displayed. For example, a slash, a period, or a dash, right? So you can change it depending on your location, and you can change it even if it's like not for your location. All right, I'm gonna click next. A note about organization/user time zones. By default, your scenario and functions will use the date time from your organization. However, when reviewing scenario execution logs, all dates displayed to the user will be displayed in their time zone. For example, Paula lives in the US, but works as part of an organization which is based in France. Her scenario is scheduled to execute at 10 a.m. France organization time, but the data displayed in the logs for her will show 4 a.m. Unless the time zone is explicitly stated within the function, it will display by the organization time zone. This will be covered in the upcoming exercise. Okay, click next. Date versus now. Deciding which date time data item to map is important to ensure that your data is consistent. Let's explore the options available within the upcoming use case: the date from the weather app and the now variable. Click each option for the details of each output. All right, so we have date. Within the weather app, there are 2 modules that will provide the date string in slightly different outputs. From the Get Daily Forecast action, you can map the date. However, the date will display in this format, but with different data. So we got the year, month, the day, the time, which is 12, the second, and milliseconds. This is limiting, as it only displays the time as midday in UTC, regardless of when the scenario is executed, okay? Then we have now. There is an option for mapping dates consistently, regardless of which source app has been used, the now variable. This variable is built in Make itself, and is useful because it will provide the current date/time in GMT, regardless of your location, to the millisecond. For example, this date/time will be displayed if you use now, whether you are in London, Paris, Prague, or New York. As a rule, the more data that you have to work with, the more data you can manipulate, and the more powerful your results will become. And we have a comparison. The key difference between the 2 formats is the output from the data type. The format of the date from the weather app is specific to the app. Date will be offered in other apps, but may be structured differently. Yeah, so they have this date, which if you use by itself is incorrect because it said it will display this time no matter what. So basically, if you use the date in the weather app, it will show incorrectly if you just use it by itself. And then they have a similar date item in different apps, and this one it's showing like an online form. I guess that's like an app or some kind of module you can use that also has the date, but I'm not sure if it's also incorrect used individually like the date from the weather app. The difference between these examples is that one does not offer the accurate time and the other offers the time but in an incomplete format. Using the now variable will give you the current time in GMT to the millisecond. Plus, when you combine it with functions, it will allow you to log the exact date and time when a scenario was executed, which provides consistency across your scenarios. Therefore, you should always consider using the now variable. So the weather app date mapping item, it does not offer the accurate time, and in this online form, the date item is in an incomplete format, right? But if we use these with the now variable, we can get the exact time to the millisecond. So basically we have to use these date items in conjunction with the now variable. Seems like in every situation. Seems a little flawed in my opinion, but hey, who am I? I'm gonna click next. Transforming the date. With formatDate, you can change the input date to a format you want, such as transforming year, day, month, to day, month, year. For example, using the now variable in formatDate, that date. So formatDate and now variable, you can change this crazy looking computer like date format, which is by default, into whichever one you like. You can change which order they come in and also what you use in between them. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Okay. Using the now variable will also provide the time to the millisecond. Therefore, the date can appear as the specific date and the exact time that it was executed or sent or captured, whatever your scenario is doing. And then here we have another example of how it's transformed from this original default time. I think they called it raw format or something. And then you can change it into your preferred format. On the next slide, you will see a side-by-side comparison output of the date from the weather app versus now, okay? So let's see a comparison. Click next. Data accuracy, date versus now. Below is a side-by-side output of the date/now and the same functions in the weather app, and which data is accurate/inaccurate. You can never get accurate data on time with date, as it will always show time as midday in UTC. Using the now variable will reflect the date/time to the minute/second in GMT. To localize this information to a time zone you want, use the formatDate function and you will always get the correct result. All right, so yeah, why would we use date? So it seems the date in the weather app, at least, it would only give you a correct result if you're only trying to get the date. But if you want to get like the exact time, you can like try to with just the date. With the date item, you can try to get as accurate as you would like to, but it's just always going to show midday in UTC time, right? Which for Paris would be 1, for New York it'd be 7. But if you use it in conjunction with the now variable, we can get accurate data to the T, to the millisecond. So yeah, big takeaway from here is we got to use date and now together. Click next. Before you start, it's important that your scenario is configured before you start this exercise. Work through each stage before you click next. Okay? It's important that you configure your scenario before you start this exercise. Create a new scenario and call it basic functions formatDate. This will be the same setup as the scenario that was created in Unit 2. Add weather, get daily weather forecast, and configure it according to your location. Then add the Google Sheets add a row module. It should look like the image. Okay? Let's do that. Create new scenario, weather, get daily weather forecast. I'm just gonna select today, want to enter location by city, and type your city. Then click save. I'm gonna add another module, Google Sheets, add a row. Under spreadsheet ID, we're clicking basic functions. Sheet name this time will be date functions, and our information should populate. I'm gonna save the module and save the scenario. Right after I rename it to basic functions, format date. Now save. Next slide. Within your Google Sheets add a row module, select your spreadsheet ID as basic functions. You should have created this Google Sheet as part of the exercise in Unit 1. For the sheet name, select date functions. It should look like the image. Yeah, we already did that. I'm gonna click next slide. If you have set up your Google Sheet correctly from Unit 1, your headers should appear as follows: GMT, date only, date and time Paris, date and time New York. Looks perfect. For the next exercise, you will use each of these fields to map a different date and adjust the format using the formatDate function. You're all set. Click next to start the exercise. All right, click next. Formatting the date. This use case will give you an overview of how to utilize the formatDate function. Click in the GMT field. You will see a list of items that you can map. Instead of mapping these, navigate to the DateTime Functions tab, map the now variable. Click the image for a demonstration. Click run once. You will see the current time in GMT reflected within your Google Sheet. Okay, so we're mapping now variable in GMT. We're in GMT, click that. We need the date functions, and I see now right here. So I'm gonna just click it. Now it's there. Save it. Why we're running this so early, I don't know, but we're running it. If we go back into the basic functions Google Sheet, under date functions, you'll see we have our GMT loaded right here in the GMT tab, which is not very pretty. See if we did it right in the example. GMT, date time, now, mapped, cool, awesome. Next slide. Let's use the formatDate function to transform the date. Click the date only field. Navigate to DateTime Functions tab again and select the formatDate function. This will insert a blank function for you. It will appear as formatDate with a semicolon in between the parentheses. If you hover over this function, you will see a prompt that provides information about the function and how to map it. Click the image for a demonstration. In the DateTime Functions, we're just mapping the formatDate function, right? So go into here, into our date only tab, and in the date and time functions, we can find formatDate right here at the bottom. So I'm gonna click that, and now we have the same, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Now we have the same setup as the example. So I can click the next slide now. Move your cursor to the space between formatDate and the semicolon. Click your mouse and map the now variable so it appears like this. I'm gonna click this. So we're putting the now variable in between formatDate and the semicolon. This is telling the function the source of what will be changed. Move your cursor between the semicolon and the closing parentheses and type day/month/year. This is specifying what you want the output of the function to be. It should look like this. Let's see this demonstration. So this is what we're typing into the date only field in our Google Sheets module. So let's get this function in our B section. Okay, so go into here. In B, which is date only, in front of the semicolon, we are putting now, and then behind the semicolon, we're going to put the format that we want our date to come in, which in this case is day, month, year. So in between here, we're gonna put day/month/year, just like that. And let me just make sure it looks how it does in the example. It looks pretty good to me. So I'm gonna save it and save the scenario. Back to the exercise, we're gonna click next slide. Click run once and look at your Google Sheet. Notice the output of your date looks entirely different now. It should appear in the following format: day, month, year. Congratulations, you've just transformed your first date. Notice that the time is missing. We're going to add this now, as well as the location for a date/time. Let me just run this to show you guys. So we're gonna click run once, go into our basic functions Google Sheet, and you'll see now that we have our second column filled here with the new format that we just input into our scenario, which is day, month, year. I don't know why I keep saying year 3 times. Cool, so it works just as intended. Awesome. Not too complicated yet. Open up the add a row module again and click within date and time Paris, which is C. Follow the same steps as before. However, this time add hour, minute, semicolon, Europe/Paris when you are done. It should look like this. So we're adding, after the format of the date, we're gonna just do a space, put HH:MM, and then we're gonna have another semicolon. And then after that semicolon, we're gonna add Europe/Paris and then close the parentheses, all right? Ensure there are no spaces between semicolon Europe/Paris. So there is a space between the year and the minute, the hour, but there's no space between the semicolon and Europe, okay? So let's get this formatDate function into our scenario. So in the C, we go into our date and time functions. Down here, we have formatDate. In between the formatDate and the first semicolon, we're going to add now. And then after the semicolon, the first semicolon, we're going to do the format that we wanted, which was day, month, year. And then we're doing a space, the hours, minutes, then another semicolon. And then here we're putting Europe/Paris, just like that. Make sure it looks similar to me. It's closed, and I think that's it. So we're gonna save it. And yeah, I'm gonna assume they're gonna want us to do the same thing with the other one. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Format date now in front of the first colon, day, month, year, space, minute, semicolon. I know they're gonna have me put like America or USA before, but we'll just put New York for now. And I'll probably have to fix it, but we're just gonna save it for now. Let's see what they want us to do. Next slide. Click run once. The time that appears will show the complete date and time for the location of Paris. Finally, let's repeat this step for date and time New York. Map formatDate now, semicolon, day, month, year, hour, minute. Yeah, and like I said, semicolon, America/New York. But you see that they actually have a underscore instead of a space in New York. So yeah, let's correct that real quick. So in the D column, we have semicolon, America/New York. And then in between New and New York, we're having a underscore like that. Just make sure that looks correct. Okay, yeah, that looks good to me. I'm gonna save that, save the scenario. Click run once. You will have a completely different time. The difference between the two times you have mapped should be 6 hours. This is because you are mapping the now variable, which shows GMT, but within a different time zone. Cool, yeah, so let's run the scenario and look at the difference. Go into our spreadsheet, and we can see here at the bottom that we have our differently formatted dates and time, right? Same date, but 6 hours apart in the time because of GMT, right? Cool, so it worked. We didn't get any errors in our scenario, and it looks great. Yeah, so it would look like this if we didn't put any functions to change the format of the date. And if we use date only, we can get the date. But if we want something more specific, we can use formatDate with the now variable and our other elements of the function to get something more specific, right? So I'm gonna click this next slide. Have a look at your finished Google Sheet with your new mapped date/time items. This exercise has shown you how to format your date and time in the way that works for you based on your needs and location. Congratulations, you have successfully mapped the date using a function. This concludes this exercise and this unit. Click next to continue. Yeah, so great information in this unit today. A little bit more complex in the sense of what we're actually doing in the scenarios, but I mean, for the amount of effort that we put into the results, which I think are very valuable in the sense of clarity for your customers, for you, for your scenarios. Yeah, this is great information. So now you should know how to use functions to change the format of the date into text, into a text string, know the difference between the now date compared to dates output by modules, and know the importance of converting dates between different time zones. So yeah, next video, we're gonna go into transforming data with average. Yeah, these ones are a little bit longer, so I'm glad that we're taking them like, 1 unit at a time, but we'll get through them. But with that being said, if you enjoyed any of this information or you'd like to see more, please feel free to drop a like, comment your thoughts, or hit that subscribe button. That's gonna be it from me. Hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.